Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. I'm Ryan Ireland from craftquest.io. And on this special edition of the live stream, I'm joined by two people from fortrabbit. And fortrabbit is a PHP hosting company based out of Berlin, Germany. And I'm happy to have both Ali and Frank from fortrabbit joining me, spending their evening here. And I guess it's also a holiday week over there in Germany. So happy to have them here to talk about fortrabbit, to talk about the craft copy tool that they have that allows you to have seamless deployments and pull down and push up your code and assets into their platform. And I also want to generally talk about the idea of application platform as a service, changes in how we host things now, how we host sites from like where it used to kind of just have a shared hosting to VPSs, to where you had to manage the VPS yourself, to everybody, or a lot of people trying to learn how to maintain my own servers, and then more leaning on the experts in an APASS type of thing. So I'm going to bring up Frank and Ali. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine.
Hello.
All right.
Fine, thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for joining me. And we hope that we can get through some good material. So I guess the first thing I want to do is get a little bit of information about fortrabbit. So I think I know, Ali, I first met you at the .all in Berlin. And a little bit about like how fortrabbit started and how you guys got into the hosting business. I think if I'm right, is that you were doing just like consulting work, right, for companies?
Yes, we did, and we basically needed a place to host the stuff we built, and there was no hosting. Well, there no hosting that was a good fit for our need, and well, we decided, well, like anybody, when there was no CMS that fits your needs, and you built a CMS, and when there's no hosting for your needs, and you built a hosting.
Right.
Not everybody does, but we did, yeah.
Yeah. And has it always been just focused on PHP hosting, or is that just an area that you've narrowed in on?
Yeah, because we had the need for PHP hosting, and did almost no other languages except Perl a bit, and that's why we thought, hey, we built something we need and something we're good at, and so we know the needs, or we thought we know the needs, and we built it. Yeah.
Excellent. So I mentioned in my intro that I'll just give you like my history of using web hosts, because I think I'm pretty typical of like a more curious nerd type of person that's writing code. Is that first early on I would just use like a shared host, right? Like we all know that all the big shared hosts is, whether it's like DreamHost or the place that everybody put their websites up early on, when we were all doing work like this. And then there was that big VPS movement, right? The virtual private servers. I'm trying to think who got started with that pretty early on, where you had like your own little slice of a physical server as a virtualized server, but you still had to manage it, top to bottom. And I think all along there was like this managed hosting that happened, that kept happening the entire time. And then for me, about 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to, roll up my sleeves and go a little deeper. So I dug into AWS, and I know that fortrabbit's built on AWS, and learned all of the stuff in AWS. Got like my first certificate for the associate architect, or whatever the certificate is. And then really
how many servers? How many AWS servers do you know, and how to use them? There are probably 200.
Yeah, exactly. And so people say that it's the hardest exam. Those first two exams are the hardest ones because you have to know you have to know a little bit about almost all of their main services. So anyway, I did that, and I actually had like client sites were on, servers that I was managing through like Laravel Forge, and then I realized that I wasn't an expert in in hosting, and like I did all the right things, right? Like I did like have an RDS instance, I did have elastic IPs, and so I was protecting myself from failure, which I actually ended up having last summer, where there was an issue with one of the servers, and I had to rebuild it. But fortunately, because of how I had structured everything, it was pretty painless. But that's when I realized that this isn't what I wanted to spend my time on. And I think that's kind of where fortrabbit comes in, where it's you guys are the experts, you have the platform, and it's not shared hosting. It's not like fully managed where, I mean, I guess it is fully managed, but there's flexibility there for me as a developer to deploy the code that I would like to deploy. But I really don't have to worry about, all of the ins and outs of whether my database server is up and running, whether I'm patched, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, it seems like this happy medium between like the type of managed hosting where you have to like beg someone for like SSH access to, and like the really bad shared hosting that just always goes down. Anyway, that's my long soliloquy to say that I think that I'm like the perfect, like, person to talk about this, because like I've been through all those phases, even going to like get my certificate for AWS or my certification, because I wanted to try to explore that. And once I get into it, I realized that, I don't want to be an expert in hosting, but I do want to rely on experts. And that's the pitch that you guys are making. I was looking through the website, and you do kind of make the pitch that, do you really want to become an expert on AWS, or are you interested in, building sites and writing code for your clients or for your company? So does that kind of fit with what you guys were after when you're working on fortrabbit and building it?
Yeah, maybe Frank can answer.
Yeah, totally. It's basically an abstraction layer on top of AWS, making AWS more convenient, using them as an infrastructure, and giving a mix of a classical LAMP stack, but also with modern dev tooling we all want to have.
So what would be the difference between fortrabbit and like a virtual private server that I spin up and manage myself?
You can answer, right?
Okay. You need maybe ask us who's going to answer, because we have a little bit of a delay.
Oh, sure.
Here.
Yeah, go for it, Frank.
You don't have to manage the OS layer. So our pitch is you still have to write your code, and you still you need to take care of your code as well. But the OS layer, the operating system, is managed by us, and you can expect everything to work. So that's a difference to a VPS.
Right, and your responsibility goes deep. It basically spans the whole, everything. You have to patch your server and everything.
Yeah, everything except your dependencies, and let's say you are responsible for when it comes to Craft, and you are still responsible to update Craft and to update your plugins and to keep them up to date. But everything else, which is software, is our responsibility.
Right. So I talked about the different of like infrastructure as a service. So like AWS, which you're built on. Talk about VPS. Shared hosting is I think it's pretty clear like what that means. you guys put yourself under application platform as a service. Can you, Ali, can you explain a little bit what that means?
Well, okay, and okay, these there are the terms, the IaaS, let's see, the infrastructure layer, and in the middle is basically the platform as a service layer, and there is even a simpler layer, like the SaaS layer. That's when you actually don't need to deploy any code anymore. Like when what is a typical SaaS? There are so many out there. Like this video hosting service is probably a SaaS, and but we sit in the middle, and you still have to write and maintain your code.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess like
traditionally, the PaaS sector is something that was really hyped when Heroku came out, and there were a lot of people trying to copy Heroku. And to be honest, we were also had the same pitch, because Ruby on Rails, and there's a PaaS, and we can do it with PHP as well. The PHP community is so much greater, and most of them, they are not there anymore. And some analysts said back then, oh, PaaS is going to be so big, and it didn't turn out to become that big until now. But we're still happy, like we still have our niche, and we are happy there.
Yeah, Heroku was, I guess, early in the PaaS world, and I remember there being some, because I worked in Rails like early on in the mid 2000s, and I remember there being some skepticism about. I mean, everybody loved Heroku because it made it so easy to deploy. Rails, I don't know if you guys remember, but Rails used to be really difficult to deploy early on, and they improved that. But I know there was skepticism because it kind of, to use Heroku, you had to really buy in to their tool set end to end almost, right? But now we're starting to see that as actually an advantage. And later on, we'll talk about Craft Copy, which is kind of that piece of it, right? It connects the developer's local environment to fortrabbit and gives them that end-to-end experience, which is a more seamless way of deploying to a staging and production environment, and also pulling back down again.
Yeah, but the difference here is Craft Copy relies on standard tools like rsync, Git, and SSH, and it's not, well, it's something additional. You don't have to use it, but you can use it for your convenience. As
opposed to you're comparing to Heroku, where you have to use their tool set, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess who's of the two of you? Who's the AWS person that's managing it? That's sort of building everything in the back end. Is that you, Ali?
Well, I'm the technical person, but I'm not the AWS guy. Well, we have a team, luckily, and we're now 6 people, and 2 are really focused on system administration, DevOps, and that's not me. I'm more into code than into ops. Yeah.
Right. So that would be the code that powers the dashboard and the customer tools and all that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if people, go ahead.
There also in our platform there are multiple layers, and I rarely touch the deep ops stuff, and I'm more on the dashboard and there's another layer, basically an API in the middle where the dashboard talks to, and that's more my responsibility.
And so you guys were nice enough to set me up with a test account, and we'll delete this afterwards. So it's probably okay if I show my dashboard, right?
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with it.
Yep, good. So make sure. So this is what Ollie was referring to. You know, the customer facing tools for managing your apps. So you guys break. Oh, I got logged out. You guys break everything down to like an app is a unit of a thing in the fortrabbit world. Let me just log in.
You could also call it project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. All right, here we are.
We cannot tell your password, so we
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
it's like, I couldn't actually. I kept mistyping the password to get into my password. So, all right. So here's the main interface, and actually, really, I was telling Frank earlier, I really enjoyed not only digging through the dashboard and managing the sample site that I'm working on, but also all of the documentation that you guys put together. It's a really nice blend of just general helpful developer documentation for, you know, whether it's craft specific. I know you have things in there for Symfony and for Laravel as well, but also explaining like why you do things a certain way and why that's, you know, your preferred way to do it. And so I thought it was really like, it was a comfortable experience going through and working through this site. You know, you're like your features and responsibilities table. Like this is super helpful for someone to understand why pass matters and where it kind of sits compared to the other hosting options that we just went through. So this is an app, so you can create multiple apps or projects. But each app has like its own contained hosting environment, right? That you guys spin up for it. And that means a protected like web hosting environment and then database. I mean, however you guys architect that behind the scenes with like RDS and stuff is doesn't really matter to the end user. But I have dedicated resources for my site. Is that right?
Yeah, not only resources, but probably more important is that is protected on a permission level that nobody can. It's a container actually, and you own the container and the resources in the container, and nobody else can access it.
So speaking of that, one of the things I think that sets you guys apart from other services that I've seen is that you don't have, like, you're billing by usage only, right? You're not billing, is that right? Like it's
No.
Okay.
There's actually a fixed price.
Okay.
And you usually have that price. It's interesting that you bring it up. It causes some confusion sometimes.
Okay.
We have these, with the universal plans, we have those 3 basic pricings on the pricing page, and that's a monthly price. And usually you'll stay within these limits. What is confusing sometimes is that we have, like other services as well, is consumption-based billing, so prorate billing. So when you book it on the 20th of the month and then there's still 10 days left, you will have to pay for these 10 days. And also it works the other way around if you cancel the service sooner.
Got it. Yeah, no, I misunderstood. I see the pricing page now. So I think I had read, as I was digging the documentation, I read about the metered based pricing. Okay. So let's talk about craft copy. And so Ali, this was your creation, is that right?
Yeah, well, it's actually a side project for a long time. I'm not sure when I started. Have a look at the Git history.
2 years ago, I guess.
The release. 23 releases. That's probably something before they were first released. Even first beta was in 2018. Yeah, more than 2 years ago. But last year we decided, hey, this should be, well, we should should release a 1.0 release because it was almost complete. Well, software is never complete, but it was ready or usable for our clients.
Yeah. So what is it? What does it do? What's the idea behind Craft Copy?
Yeah, it basically streamlines the underlying. Well, the responsibility is to sync the code, sync the database, and the assets, and the nature of these three things are slightly different. But I tried to streamline everything with very similar commands. Like there's an up and down command for each type of thing, and you don't have to really think of what you're doing when you do copy code up or copy code down or db up or db down. So it's and there's even, you can even group those together, that is a copy all up, and then it runs through all these things and copies them up or down. And if you're lucky, it will not break anything. Well, yeah, and yeah, there are some edge cases, as always in software, and but try to handle them gracefully. Yeah.
So my working with Craft Copy, just in my test account in essentially a staging environment. So I like the idea that where I can automatically migrate either my database up to the staging environment or pull that staging environment database down to keep things in sync. How would that work for production, though? I assume that you wouldn't really ever run the database deployment like that, or is it just really up? Is the tool just available to do whatever you tell it to do?
Yeah, it doesn't care about the remote environment, if it's a staging or a production environment. Well, you can handle multiple environments or remote environments, basically, and give it a name and say, okay, now push it or copy it to production or from staging. But you always sync it with your local environment. You cannot. Yeah. What you cannot do, you cannot say, okay, copy something from staging to production. This is not possible. Right. It's only between you and the remote environment.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea of copying down from my staging environment or even from my production environment, just to update my local environment. Like I've had, I'm not sure if you guys, if you do any work with Craft sites, but with project config, things can kind of get it out of whack, and it can be a little confusing. So it's always easier just to hit the reset button, pull down the production database, rebuild your project config files, and then commit any changes, and then push them up through the environment. But I like that I can just easily pull things down and always make sure that my local environment is in sync. So Craft Copy is it's set up as a Craft plugin, so it's installable just like any Craft plugin would be, just with Composer Require, or if you're someone that likes to install via the plugin store inside of Craft, you can do that too. But Composer Require, we'll get that.
Can you guess or what the proportion of people is who use the plugin store and the other proportion use the Composer Require? Do you have a guess?
Do you actually know? Do you have stats on that?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, we'd be interested in.
So I would say it depends on the plugin. I would say for something like this, I would say it's probably 80-20, 80% being using Composer Require. Andrew Welch and I have talked a lot about like which way to to install plugins, whether you use Composer or the craft, like the plugin store, or the craft, like the craft way, and updates as well, right? And Andrew's thing was just choose one and stick with it. Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of problems. And I've gone the route of just doing everything with Composer. It just seems a little bit lighter weight, less overhead, and just seems to be a bit faster too. But I would say probably
we switched our documentation multiple times forth and back for updating Craft CMS as well, and there are obviously advantages of using Composer, but on the other side you have Pixeltronic pointing in the other direction, and so you have this conflict. Like, here, do it this way, and then they looked it up somewhere else, and then you're in a mess. So that's complicated,
right.
Yeah, there are actually three ways. You can use Composer directly. You can use the Craft CLI commands and the dashboard or the plugin store. But yeah, it's not easy.
No, and I think it's good advice to pick the one way that works best for you and stick with that. I like Composer, although I do drop into the Craft specific commands for things like, obviously running the migrations and things like that. So like that's the last step of like an update. So all right, so install. We kind of got sidetracked, but install via Composer or via the plugin store. So it's a plugin, and then once installed, I keep getting logged out of everything. All right, there we go. So once installed, it is added as a plugin, and that's really, there's no configuration or anything that happens here. It all happens from the command line. So I already did this because I figured it'd probably be boring for people to walk through the configuration. Let me just show my desktop. But so you can see that here's our Craft Copy plugin. And then that gives us access to a suite of commands. So it looks like this. So if you via the craft command, you have access to the copy command and then all of the sub commands as well. And so I guess I'll give some comments and feedback. I thought the setup process was really cool. There's definitely a lot of magic happening behind the scenes there. I thought that that was cool how it detected, obviously via the environment file, the database, and automatically grabbed that and exported it and then sent it up to fortrabbit. So let's see. So that's via copy setup. Let's see. This was surprising, the copy volumes up and down. What happens when I send a volume, like files up? Does fortrabbit have like its own asset hosting that it does?
No, it only, at the moment, it only works with the apps which have persistent storage. It means you store your assets next to your code, and what it does under the hood, it iterates over all your volumes and rsync the files up and down, depending on the direction. And since rsync only looks for changed files, and that means when you have only a few changes, it will only sync these few changes in the direction. And if there are no changes, it will do basically nothing.
Got it. All right. So my setup here is I just have Craft running locally, and I'm actually using, I kept it really simple. I'm actually using the serve command that's part of Craft. I have a SQL database running as well. So I'm not using I'm not using Docker or anything here. It's super simple, but I assume it works if I was using like Nitro or my own Docker setup. It'll connect in as well.
Well, we have to look in the Docker, in the Nitro 2, might be since it requires SSH keys, the SSH keys must be available somehow inside a container.
Right.
But we are currently looking into this and provide a documentation. Yeah.
I guess that's, yeah, I skipped over that part. As part of the setup, I have to add my local machine SSH key to fortrabbit, obviously, so it can connect. And then if I'm using a like Nitro, like a Docker container, it would be looking for the Docker container's SSH keys in order to connect. All right, so what I have here is, I'll just kind of step through my little test project. It is a brand new installation of Craft. Oh, I did the uppercase, Frank. I'll fix that. That's a good. That's actually a good.
Yeah, that's a good fix.
That's a good
you
fix.
Can fix
All right, so here we go. And it's here as well, so it's actually in the proper markup. But then there's also, let's do this because it's a database thing. All right, so we're just gonna walk through kind of how this all works. Settings. This is a real simple site. All right, so I've made two changes. One is file-based and one is database-based. Let me go back to my code. So I have this local Git repository. I don't have this connected to anything remote right now. Like I don't have it, like it's not connected to a remote GitHub repository or anything. So it's just as simple as it comes. All right, so at this point, I want to run, let's see, let me check my commands. I just do everything up, right? So that's just going to get the database and my code changes and send those up.
Well, you changed the site name, right? And the site name is part of project config, since it's a setting. So it's
yes. Okay.
So
it'll get it there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That means when you push your code up, we run after composer install the command to apply to project config, and this should be sufficient. That means you don't have to change anything with or have to sync the database. In theory, I don't know. Well,
yeah. All right. So let's do.
Have you connected the app yet to fortrabbit?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that ahead of time. That way we didn't have to step through that with live. So PHP craft.
Maybe we mention it. So you have the remote repository is actually connected to the Git remote hosted on fortrabbit. That's how it works in the background.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, so we'll do PHP craft copy. Is it code? Is that the subcommand?
Yeah. It's code up.
Code up. All right. So I have uncommitted changes. So updated site name with lowercase f. So I've made a commit in my local repository. And now we are sending those changes up. Just kind of scrolling through here. Okay, so it does a migrate every time. That makes sense. Applies project config.
Yeah.
Yep. And then build and release. 10 seconds. It's pretty good. Awesome. So now, if I go to my fortrabbit site here.
And click it. Yeah.
There we are. So that's our code change.
Temp-
Oh, sorry, that's the project config change, and then our code change is up here in the tab is the title tag.
Yeah.
So, so I'm going to work as if I was still developing the site. It's not live yet, and I'm putting in some sample content, and I want to get that up into my staging environment on fortrabbit as well. So locally, like let's just say I create. I'm trying to pick something that's not handled by project config, and more things are getting swept up into that.
Well, content, basically, yeah.
Yeah, content basically. So we'll just do like a new entry here. And we'll just do some lorem ipsum here. All right. So we'll publish that. I'm local. And now I should only have to, I can do, oops. Is this the help command as well without anything or not? No, is it? Let's see.
No.
Okay. Oh, just help. Oh, okay, no, okay.
Well, that's
the sub command.
Yeah.
All right. So here I should be able to do. I mean, I could do all up, and that'll just do everything. But since I could be more targeting, just do db up just to get the content changes. So PHP craft copy db up. All right. Gives me a warning. Hey, we're going to put the local database and put it up in the fortrabbit app.
Yeah.
So, and it also lets me know I've named this environment staging. That's part of the setup process. You can choose an environment name. So it's clear to me that I'm going up into staging. So it's fine for me to push my database up there. So yes, since no is the default.
Damn.
Here we are.
Ooh.
Oh
yeah.
Okay, that all worked.
It also creates before it imports the database, it creates a backup, and this way, well, you can roll it back.
If I accidentally push that up to production or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So now if I just go up to here, let's see, where is my
entry?
Is local.
Oh, I didn't go. I'm sorry. I never logged in. All right, there it is. So just copy the database up. So that's really handy for, and then the same way, if I made a change here, and I wanted to refresh, let's say my local copy, or let's say I had somebody new starting on my team and I wanted them just to pull down a staging database to get started with for the project, then I could just do, instead of up, I could just do down. Oh, this one defaults to yes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because it's not.
Yeah, I've noticed there's some real nice touches in the tools where I feel like the defaults are good, and what it's telling you that it's doing, I really like it. So, all right, so now I'm a new developer and I have my pull down from staging to get started. Reload, and there we go. So we have now the updated copy of the database. Very cool.
Everything works. I cannot imagine this.
It
will never work.
No, this is, and I know that like
you mentioned something in an email before that when you have no volumes and you try to copy everything up, it expects you to have a volume. And 20 minutes before the call here, I tried to prepare a release. I actually also released it, but I'm not super confident that it will break everything. So I will have, but after I will double check if it's well.
Yeah, and that was like all of my other projects have volumes. This happened just to be a brand. I just did, composer create project just to I wanted to try to eliminate any project-specific issues interfering here and just make sure I had a clean copy of craft so I could just understand how the tool works. But that's a good point, is that there is the asset syncing as well. So if I did upload something, I'm brave just kind of doing this live on the air here. Here's it goes.
Let's break it. Otherwise it doesn't look real.
No, I meant going in my Finder and looking for images and stuff. There we are. All right, so that's uploaded. So that's local, and my volumes here are oops. It's just a local folder volume, right? So it's not going to S3 or anything like that. So it's just local on my machine. And now I can sync. I have to find the command again. Sorry, I don't know them all yet. So volumes up. Remind me, I want to ask you about folder as well, because I haven't used that and I'm not sure I know what it does. So PHP craft copy volumes up. All right. So it's the remote dry run false. How do I enable a dry run? Is it just like -- dry run, or?
That's a good question. It's probably.
Maybe share a screen here. So
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't. There we are. Let me back up. So PHP craft copy volumes up. It's going to say it's going to copy all of the volumes.
Minus n should be the dry run, when I'm correct here. Scanning through the help pages here. So -n as a.
There we are.
I think that's n is the default short option for dry for rsync, but the long one is,
it's okay.
I think -- dry minus run.
Yep. All right, so that's to let me know what's going to be synced up, and then if I just run it with
that doesn't.
no.
Oh, can you share this one more time?
Yep.
What it actually does. Yes.
Okay, the directory looks a bit wrong. At the beginning, there's this header table. It shows you.
This here is what you're referring to.
This looks wrong.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, and the results are also looking wrong, because you want to only sync the assets there, not other
It
stuff.
had the vendor
so it should
directory,
only
right?
shows. Yeah, and some other files that should not belong there.
yeah.
Mm. Can you look at your configuration, maybe?
Yep.
How you set up the volumes?
Document root. Why document root?
Oh yeah, why is he using document root? That's not right.
Okay.
Let me just hard code it here real quick, just so we can.
What should be? Oh, you could use webroot / something. Add the alias.
Yeah, and then slash.
And then,
I think it's images.
Yeah.
Oop, not what I want. Oh no, it's actually in the root of the.
Okay, well, you can use webroot if you.
Here we're gonna.
Yeah, but then create one.
We'll move it.
Or yeah.
But then the database also will need to know about it, right?
Yeah, I have to rebuild the asset indexes, right? Yeah. Is that? Oh, I think
it doesn't care. I think it doesn't care so much about the state. If Craft knows about the images or not, it only cares about the configuration of the folder, as far as I remember.
All right, so now. Wow, 18 megabytes. It's amazing. I'm good at. Okay, so now let's escape out of this. Thanks for catching that. That was an error on my part, by the way, not the tool. So let's do a dry one. There you go. That looks better, right?
Yeah, looks better. Yeah.
All right. So now we'll do a dry run. Now our sync should be much shorter. Yeah. Perfect. This is what we want.
That looks better.
All right. So let's do it without being a dry run. So we're going to get the images up.
18 megabytes.
Yeah.
I'm on Fiverr here. I'm live streaming, so it'll be a little slower, but
17 megabytes.
Excellent. All right, so I probably need to sync up my. Let me look. Actually, okay. So we have some project config updates because of the volume change, and I have an untracked file that didn't. Although that's been moved up, but I need to. Let's see.
Ignore the volume, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I probably should
Yes,
ignore
it's,
that.
PNG it should not be in Git.
Updated volume, local volume.
No. Careful when you commit it. Oh no, it's not going to be added. Okay.
Yeah.
It won't be added because it's not tracked yet. Okay.
As far as I know, okay, did not have. When you create a new volume, when you create a new volume in Graph, for example, in the control panel, Graph will take care of that it's excluded. It will put a git ignore file in it, but you created the file afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, but you change it afterwards, and then it will not happen. So.
But isn't it the case that volumes now also receive a git ignore file from GraphCMS?
Yeah, but Ryan created the volume not with this images folder. He created the folder manually, and then he changed it, and then yeah.
Yep.
But when you
a lot of
when you do it, yeah.
All right. So
It's dark here.
DB. Oh, sorry, not DB. What am I moving? Oh, files. I just want to do code up.
I'll switch on the light.
Share a screen maybe so that we can see.
Yep. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, that looks good. So that's the git ignore here.
No. Back.
All right.
So you let us recap because maybe I didn't catch that.
Sure.
You sync the. There's only one image. You sync the Git stuff up, but did you also sync the assets already, or is that something still to come?
I think I did it on the last.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not there.
Just one of them. I'm under the impression, maybe I missed it, but have we?
No, I didn't. Let's see. I think it's still.
Okay, that's clear. But the what if you run the volumes up? Did we?
We did, but I don't think it was. Let's try it again.
But
there it is.
Yeah, there's only one file. Is that the other one?
I think. Let's see.
I think Graph doesn't know about it because the database is not in sync.
Aha.
Because you could now re-index it on a remote. Yep. Or you could copy the database up.
So re-indexing is going to get 2. That's good.
No,
definitely skip that. Yeah. All right. Assets. All right, there we go. So now it's got both. Or I could have just copied the database up and had the same result rather than build the index. All right, so I noticed. Oh, so you did release it.
Yeah, but I'm not super confident. Please don't do it. Please
Do you
don't.
want me to update?
No.
All right, now I have to put you on the spot here.
But we probably cannot test the new feature right now. So the new feature is checking for empty volumes, I guess.
Yeah, no, we can't. But I actually want to do.
An update.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we were talking about workflows earlier, and I'll just say that like this is what I like to do is I like to use the craft tool to understand what's available. But I like so PHP craft update info, but I actually don't use it to update. I don't know if there's a composer equivalent of that, but this is handy to me because. But no, I'm talking about like to check like what's available, what the updates are available.
Yeah, there are multiple commands to do this.
Let's see. Sorry, composer update. All right. Updated to latest craft copy. I'll just merge into master. Okay. So we have our change here. Excellent. All right. So what's next in the craft copy world? So I've committed. So at this point, I can just do
code up, and this
just
will
code up is a git push, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a git push, and you will push your composer log file.
Okay.
And this will on the remote we run composer install, and it will pull down the latest dependencies.
So craft copy code
the
up.
Git integration. Okay. The Git integration is actually the lightest integration for craft copy. I usually use craft copy mostly for database and for the volumes actually.
Because I can deploy, I can just push to the remote that I have set up with fortrabbit. It's the same thing as code up, right? If I just push to the remote.
So it checks if you have an uncommitted changes and a little bit of magic there, but basically the stuff that you described now, like when the composer will run on remote, that is not specific to craft copy, but more to the platform itself.
Right. But so the real power with craft copy is not really here. I think it's, for me at least, it's in these two, the all. Up and down, in certain scenarios, the volumes, and if I just wanted to, refresh my database from a remote, that would, to me, that's super powerful. Just have that like automated. I think that's really, really nice. And I know some people have rolled their own versions of this, but if you're a customer of fortrabbit, it's nice to have that seamless integration between your local environment and your remote environment on fortrabbit. So, all right. So code up, that's just basically a git push to the git remote repository that is set up. Oh, did I do that right? Yeah.
That's
master.
It's master selected. Yeah.
Yep.
It might also remind you of the remote the branches. So on fortrabbit only the master branch is getting deployed, and that sometimes causes some confusion. So you have this little screen showing here. That's where we want to go.
So I have to make sure that I merge into the master branch, right?
Well, you could have a different local branch. Okay. When you have full control of what you're doing with Git, you could have a different local branch and point it to the master remote branch. I'm not sure what craft copy is doing. Craft copy will always select the master branch on remote, no matter what. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just with the typical it with a git push, right? It would have been the same thing, but now remote, we're up to date. Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want me to demo on this? I did want to ask about folder up and down. I haven't played with that. What does that do?
I can say something to this.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, as you know, with volumes, what it does is rsync. And we actually, for the 1.0 release, we changed it that it will look for the specific folders that are set up with the project configuration. So with GraphCMS, you can put your volumes folders basically anywhere. And then we have this additional feature where you can sync any folder, kind of. So you could use it to have some build artifacts and to upload these. This is a use case. So JS and CSS compiled that you've compiled locally, you can use this tooling.
Yeah, basically stuff that is not in volumes, not a code, not a database, but exists for some reason somewhere. Yeah.
All right, so I'm just messing around here. So if I let's see. Okay. I'm super lazy. There we go. Does this have to be does it have to be version controlled, or is it just going to copy it up?
No, it's not version.
The whole idea is that it's not, right?
Yeah.
All right,
The whole idea is that it doesn't care because it's rsync, it's something else. So you could have it version controlled and uploaded by Git, and then in addition, rsync it up.
Oh, so is it?
Okay. Oh,
is this the default? Is this what it's looking for by default as assets?
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh.
Or is that something I didn't set up?
Yeah, it's
possibly a relict.
You can pass. Yeah, you can. Okay, you can pass the.
You need to pass the argument, the folder.
You need to pass the name of the folder.
Ah, okay.
And it defaults to something interesting.
So web, other stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
could work.
Okay.
No.
That's interesting. Oh. No, it's. Can you have a look at the help? Maybe I can do it.
It needs. I guess it needs an environment where you want to.
I think the first argument
is the
should be the environment, and then
so staging.
Yeah.
Ah, there we go. All right. So it's going
to
copy that up. Yes. All right. Now, how would I check that it's there since I don't have access to it via Craft? I guess I could just go to it in the web browser.
You can access it. Yeah.
Let's see. Where's my?
Can log in by SSH, by SFTP,
or
probably.
Well, it's accessible via HTTP.
Yeah, because it's in the web directory, so it's just be other stuff. It's gonna be empty. Yeah, cool. All right. So it's just a handy tool in case there is another folder of something that you wanna sync up into fortrabbit. Great. Oh, there we go. Fix that for Frank. All right. So anything else you guys want me to show? I think I had a lot of fun working with Craft Copy as I was setting it up and playing with it and syncing up changes. I'm a big fan of having done all of the possible hosting solutions, including, like I said, learning AWS and rolling my own there. There's no there's no shame in using a managed solution with the end-to-end tool like this. If anything, it just helps people focus on what's more important to them, which in my case, is writing code and teaching people, not worrying about on a Sunday afternoon, like whether my VPS is down or whether my EC2 instance is down. So I think it's super cool, and I like the tool that you guys built. And Ali, I know that you're working. You're always updating it. It's only on a 1.0.4 or something like that. So it's pretty fresh 1.0, right?
Yeah, for me it's way older, and then one of the 1.0 release wasn't so important.
Yeah, it took us a long time. We are actually updating our help pages slowly, that we want to make pitching the tool a little bit more, and that people really make use of it. So our aim is to be versatile, so that kind of like many workflows are possible, but more and more we're going to say use Craft Copy.
Cool. No, I dig it. I think it's a cool tool. So I want to encourage everyone. I was giving praise to the website and the documentation and the information on it. So I want to make sure people check that out too. So this is just one of the examples of like a comparison article that you have about like why fortrabbit instead of a VPS. And
that's actually marketing. The help pages are more.
Oh no, I know this is marketing, but this is actually helpful to people to understand the difference between what you guys do, what just raw AWS does, and then everything in between. To me, this is educational as well. It helps people understand like where you guys sit and why they might want to do this. I mean, there's so much stuff in here that's not even like you're not pitching like fortrabbit like hardcore here. You're actually teaching people all the different things, and maybe somebody falls into, I don't know, HostGator. I have no idea, but I think this is really helpful. But Frank, to your point, so really comprehensive documentation as well on for this audience on Craft, and then if you're in the documentation, it will populate if you're logged in, right? It'll populate with your apps, so you can get the commands in context as well, which is super helpful. So check out. I would check out all of their documentation, and as well as the explanations that the fortrabbit team has put together for application platform as a service versus virtual hosting, blah blah blah, all that stuff. I think it's really helpful. I was really pleased. Writing this amount of content isn't easy, and I felt like it all linked together really nicely. So I encourage everyone to check that out. I'll put links along with the recorded version of this live stream. There'll be links to all of the pertinent documents or marketing pages where you can check that stuff out. All right, Frank and Ali, any parting words you'd like to leave for everyone here?
No, well, it was a long day for me.
I know you guys are on. You guys are on holiday. Schools are out, so you've all been with family all day, probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oli is in office, I see, from the background.
Yeah, I went to the office because I cannot do a live stream with the kids in the back of my. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's good to catch up with you guys, and I hope that when we get back to normal world, when we can all see each other again. I have family, and my wife is from Germany. I have family in Germany, and we haven't been back in a year and a half almost. So we're all looking forward to. If anyone, I'm actually eligible to travel to Europe before a lot of people because of family relations, but. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone again, maybe at the next .all, whenever that is.
Yeah. Hopefully this year, but
if it's still planned for Amsterdam, that's a drive for you guys, or a train ride. It's not bad at all. But great. Well, thank you for taking time out of the evening to hang out and do the live stream.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Yep,
that's really appreciated here. And
sure, no problem.
I'm so glad nothing broke.
I know it's always It's always stressful. I'm not very comfortable doing like all of the coding and the teaching I do is all recorded, obviously, and edited, and then like doing things live it can be really stressful. But no, it works great. It's a cool tool, and you guys have the disadvantage of having to deal with everybody's local environments, which is really hard to try to.
Especially Windows.
Yeah, there are.
The tool doesn't work on Windows because
Okay.
we have basically no Windows experience. That's the thing.
Right.
It could work.
Honestly,
it would. I think in theory it would be possible, but since nobody knows about Windows, we don't support it officially. Yeah.
Well, would it work if I was developing in a Docker environment on Windows though?
Yeah, or in a Linux subsystem, it would work.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, but not in real Windows.
Real Windows. Right. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.